You like making force markers? Do you need a deck for BCF that can hold its own in a competition? Well then I got the deck for you, and that deck name is Ange. What's up guys, Zenara here, and today I'm going to be showing a very simple deck profile for Ange that you can take to BCF and change it however you like. This is not a definitive list because things could change, but let's just get it started. First off, in your deck, of course, you want to have 4 perfect performance Ange. Ange does everything that you want her to. She bounces your normal unit rear guard to give a bounce on your opponents. It allows you to recoup hand, allows you to gain more force markers as long as the game keeps going on. And she's just a nice all-around card, all for a simple counter boss 1. So, of course, you want to play this as a 4-up in your deck. Next card of the deck. Obviously one of your win cons, or the one con of the deck, Choo Choo Debut Stage TIRUA. She allows you to get obviously a restand on the rearguard circle after you bounce with Ange and you call her from the deck, but also she also has a Vanguard restanding skill. In case if you brick and you have to ride her on the Vanguard circle, she can swing at least 28k by herself if you bounce 3 or more normal units. A very good utility card indeed for this deck. I only play 2 because you don't want to run multiple copies in this deck, because we have the spice in this deck. And the spice in this deck is 2 Silent Quiet Refurade. Refurade is dubbed the orange spice here on this channel. So she allows you to get multiple force markers if you use her Vanguard Axe skill against the mirror. Of course, if you go first, you want to be able to out pressure, out tempo your opponent. So when you just have 3 force markers and they're sitting there with no damage, you are already in the race. So I play 2 so we can get that edge over the opponent and we can surely ensure our victory. So you do not have to play this card. It is just what I am playing, but it's also a tech option in the deck that if you want to play, you can beat the mirror. On to the grade 2s. Of course, we play top out of Aqua, only playing 3 in this list because 4 sometimes your hand is a little bit bricky. However, we're playing other cards to substitute for the last Aqua in your deck. She allows you to bounce back a normal unit, to draw a card, to dig those combo pieces for your Anges, and even more aggro pieces or defensive pieces in this deck. She's also a 15k attacker that allows you to get the pressure on your opponent, as well as being able to push for damage, as well as getting resources back. So that's why we're playing 3 of Aqua. Next, a strange choice, but we're playing 2 Coco Loveheart Lieselot. Lieselot does everything you want it to. A broken card that you're able to call on turn 1 to be able to put a card from the top of your deck into your soul or rearguard circle, and she just allows you to get a free +1 of free soul. So you're able to run more copies of this to be a more early aggro deck. This is more of a mid-range deck, so you want to tempo out your opponent. Multiple copies in this deck for me have not really worked out, just depending on the choice of my grade 1 lineup. So if you want to run more copies of Lieselot, you can in this deck. Next, to fill in for the soft Aqua, we are playing 3 Courteous Beauty Saria. So Saria is basically a pot of duality. When she's placed on Vanguard Rearguard Circle, you can discard a card, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, put 1 into your hand, and put the rest at the bottom of the deck in any order. And she can be a 15k or 20k beater on the Vanguard Rearguard Circle. So she allows you to hit good numbers, same as Aqua, but also dig through your deck for cards that you want, as well as discarding cards such as Refurade if you're not on Refurade. So a very nice card, and a more key piece into bouncing back from Aqua or bouncing back from Ange, so you can keep digging through your deck and compress the deck of triggers. Lastly, I am playing 2 Electric S's Sissoko. Sissoko allows you to just put any normal unit from your drop zone to the bottom of your deck. You can put your TIRUAs back to the bottom deck. You can put Ellie's, Aquas, so you prevent deck out in the mirror. As well as if you bounce if another regard was bounced during this turn, she gets Talented Power, so she's 20k attacker, which is really nice, especially on a force marker. She's 30k solo if you bounce something like a normal unit with Aqua, as well as being able to possibility to stun one of your opponent's rear guards in the back or front row if you bot deck a grade 3 or greater. So I play 2 just for that deck out and long game. Next to the deck, one of the most important combo makers that we have in a very strong promo, I will say, is Prism on Water Martoa. Martoa is very simple. On Vanguard Rear Circle, you can soul boss 1. Both players draw a card. If you are grade 3, both players call a card from hand, and your opponent's abilities do not activate for that turn. So you're able to call stuff like TIRUA, Syria, or even extend multi-attacks during the battle phase, since you can call Martoa from your deck. And she allows you to make some insane plays like double TIRUA, or even 5 to 6 attacks if you draw like more Martoa in your hand. Sometimes you can even do double Pearl Sister in this deck. A triple Pearl Sister swing if you play those in the deck. But Martoa is just a very important card for you to gain advantage and for you to multi-attack. So that's why we're playing 3. Next, to keep up this soul that we're using in this deck, we're running 3 Cuddle Connect Vanessa. Vanessa allows you to just put a grade 3 from your drop zone to the bottom of your deck, and you can draw a card, and she goes into soul for the cost. She allows you to use Martoa a lot more easily, or if you're playing cards like Nikita, to soul blast multiple cards from your soul. You're able to get massive defense and a draw. But in this deck, it's more so to put back heals and to put back TIRUAs if you damage it or draw it early, and just to keep that nice soul healthy and to draw into more combo pieces or draw to more defensive shields. As the game goes on, we filter cards from the deck to our normal units, and you want to be able to maintain that deck size and maintain your soul from Martoa. So that's what we're playing, 3 of Vanessa. Next, the main defensive piece of the deck, we're playing Mermaid Idol Ellie as a 4-of. Compared to Nikita, I think that in this meta, you want to rush a little bit earlier now. There are some decks that are kind of spooky if you give them multiple CB. But in the mirror, I think this is really solid because you're able to not deck out if the game goes that long, and you're able to make an easy 20k guard with shield, and you don't have to mill your deck out by soul charging with Quail and stuff like that. As well as it's just a nice rearguard to have on Vanguard or rearguard to pressure your opponent to commit cards early. It's a nice tempo based card, and that's why I play for Ellie, for that tempo reason. Next, important staple we have is for Mermaid Idol Senna. Senna allows you to dig your deck for any specific grade 3 that you need from the top 5, even Heal Guardians. Again, we're playing 3 different cards. We have Ange, TIRUA, and Rifi. So if you're going first, you can possibly dig for Rifi if you have your Anges in your hand. Again, that's why we play Syria, to dig for specific cards we want. She's also a 13k attacker or beater if there's another unit in the same column. And Senna all around is a very good card you want to have in your deck. Lastly, a tech option that I play is Ingenious Marino. So Marino basically allows you to put a normal unit from your hand to the bottom of the deck. If you have a TIRUA in your hand, you can put it into your deck. If you have a Martoa in your hand, you can put it into your deck. Again, to prevent like that deck out game. You also draw to recoup it, and the second ability is where your grade 3 or greater is placed during your battle phase. If this is a back row, you can choose one of your Vegas to get 10,000 power. If you're ever in the back row, you call something like TIRUA, you're able to give Ange an extra 10k power. If she was 23, she could hit 33 to hit more numbers, or if she was already 33 from a force marker, she could hit 43, which is even stronger. It puts more pressure on the Vanguard. Mirano is overall just a very nice card in the deck, and that's why players one of. On to the triggers. A mandatory in this deck. We're playing 4 of the Heal Guardian. The Heal Guard is amazing. Allows you to place it during, if you place it during your grade 2 or lower turn, you can choose one of the effects. You can give your Vanguard 10,000 power to end the turn to prevent multi-attacks, or you can choose one of your opponent's attack units and give it -2 crit for that battle. And in this deck, is extremely strong since you play Vanessa. You can easily use the Heal Guardian early and use Vanessa either from Ange's call or just from calling it from your hand to put the heals back into your deck. So the more you compress your deck throughout the game, the more chance you have opportunity to heal. And I think this is like one of the only decks that was able to use the Heal Guardian really well. So that's why we play 4 of it, and that is a mandatory. Next, we're playing 3 draw PGs. The draw PGs obviously acts as a perfect guard, but they're also draw. So and I will spoil it right now. The next card we are playing is a Crit Sentinel. Against the mirror match, you kind of want to hit more criticals. You want to end the game faster, because the longer the game goes on, the longer the deck is harder to beat against the mirror, and you don't want the game to end that long. And also, there are some attacks you don't want to use 2 cards to guard with. You have the Crit Sentinel to be able to just guard with 1 of the cards. So that's why we're playing this sort of trigger lineup with 3 PGs and 1 crit, just to have more pressure in the deck, to also check more crits on your TIRUA call, and just to pressure your opponent and tempo them throughout the game. with more critical triggers. And lastly, the rest of the triggers are just crits. So like I said, we want to be able to out-tempo our opponent, to be able to push our opponent to 3 or 4 damage, possibly by our grade 3 turn. And we want to be able to make them commit cards from their hand. Since this deck is able to replenish quite a bit in hand from our TIRUA, Seria, the filter, and you're able to basically make a wash from Finessa and compress your deck with Ellie, you're able to essentially just have all these triggers in your deck, and the more crits you have, the better shield you have, and the higher chance of you for ending the game and possibly damage deny your opponent. So that's why we run all of these other crits. Lastly, we just have the Shizuku starter. It doesn't matter what starter you use, is a V-Series starter, but the most important thing in this deck, you want to have force markers. Force 1. Force 2 is not good in this deck because you want to be able to put your TIRUA at high amount of force markers, potentially 3 or 4. If the game goes longer, it gets even more crazy how much force markers you have. As well as being able to put pressure on the rear guard, so your 23k lanes with like an Aqua and a AK like Ellie turns into 33. That makes even better numbers. And Seria and Sissoko even hit even larger numbers before your Ange and TIRUA combo, so they either have to take the hit or risk the guard before you call that TIRUA to the field. So you want Force 1 to be able to make those massive numbers, to be able to create that pressure. And since your early game is very good with pressure from Ellie, being able to drop your heal guard and cycle with Finessa, Seria, and Aqua, the Force 1 gift is able to assure you that you can beat your opponent to victory. So why is Ange such a good pick for BCF? One of its toughest matchups, teammates have been axed from the format. Well, not axed completely, but the main strength of the deck, Entrana, has been removed from the deck, and you're able to actually gain quite a bit of advantage against Steve Maidens now, as same as the piano has been banned from premium for V premium. So Ange has a very good matchup against teammates, but also she was already solid enough, like I said, be able to make multiple force markers on the rear guard circle, as well as being able to call cards from your deck like TIRUA and be able to filter throughout your deck. Just a nice solid card. It's a nice simple card too. The deck is very easy to play. It may take some time to learn on the ins and outs of some of the combos, or like what to call from deck and what to have in your hand and stuff, but the deck is very simple, very easy. There's not a lot of moving parts, and it is one of the cheaper ones to build, even though Ange herself is probably like around a decent price, same as TIRUA, but most of the deck is very cheap to build and should be under at least $100 USD. So like I said, Ange herself is a very simple deck that you can bring for BCF. It doesn't really have a lot of bad matchups. There are only a couple of like silver bullet matchups like Makuf Melek, or against decks that have like a very strong grade 3 turn and you don't have enough cards to defend for the turn, which is why we play cards like Ellie, Finessa, and other cards, like I said, Ellie, Finessa, Mural, to be able to filter, to be able to draw those cards that you need to survive in order to prevent you from losing the game. Don't click off this video. If you want to see more spicy Ange goodness, look at the video down below at the corner, right here, yeah. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'm Zenarion, and I'm signing off.